Orders of the day.
Ballot item number 26, private member's notice of motion number 33. Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Speaker. I move that in the opinion of this House, the Government of Ontario act to help farmers by supporting reforms to the National Agri-Stability Program at this year's meeting of the Federal and Provincial Ministers of Agriculture, and by acting to create a comprehensive business risk management program jointly funded by farmers and governments, as presented by the Province of Ontario Agriculture Sustainability Coalition, and that regardless of any other level of government, the provincial share of the business risk management program be in place for the 2009 production year, which is currently being marketed.
Mr. Wilson has moved private member's notice of motion number 33. Pursuant to Standing Order 98, the member has 12 minutes for his presentation.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to present this resolution on behalf of not just the farm families in my riding of Simcoe-Grey, but of farm families of some 57,000 farms across the province of Ontario. The fact of the matter is that Ontario farmers across many commodity groups are suffering during this economic downturn. Even before this downturn, we had problems in various sectors, but now they have become much more widespread. There are, of course, many reasons for the current situation, including the rise of the value of the Canadian dollar, mandatory country of origin labelling in the U.S., and the drop in consumer demand stemming from the economic downturn, to name just a few. But while governments have bailed out autos and banks, for Ontario farmers, there's been no infrastructure program or any other form of additional relief. Most of the same farm programs that were in place before the downturn are there, but the evidence shows they are only part of what is needed. As the 2010 growing season gets underway in Ontario, the news for our farmers is not good. Just recently, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada released the department's farm income forecast for 2010, and that forecast just underlines what I've been hearing from farmers in my riding. For 2009, agriculture in Ontario had a negative $50 million net income. The forecast for 2010 predicts the loss of a further $500 million. Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada is forecasting a decline of 15% in the net operating income for the average Canadian farm compared to the 2004 to 2008 average. Grains and oilseeds will be down 35% from 2009 levels. Vegetable producers will see declines of 26% from the 2004 to 2008 average, and fruit producers will see declines of 15%. Already hard-hit cattle producers will see further declines of 5%. Hog producers' incomes will fall relative to both the 2004 to 2008 averages, as well as the 1999-2003 averages. Even the relatively well-off supply-managed sectors will see expense growth outpacing income growth for poultry, egg, and dairy farms. Speaker, the fact that so many sectors of the agriculture industry are hurting leads to a point that I want to emphasize to those members who may be from urban ridings, and to anyone who may be listening to this debate who may not be familiar with agriculture in Ontario. While we all know that Ontario is Canada's leading industrial and manufacturing sector, very few people from our cities know that Ontario is Canada's leading agricultural producer as well. And not only does Ontario have Canada's largest farm sector, we are Canada's most diverse agricultural producer. Those two facts mean that the Ontario government and we as legislators need to look at agriculture in a way that is different from most other provinces. In provinces such as Alberta and Saskatchewan, agriculture is important because it makes up a larger share of the provincial economy. But because there's not as much agricultural diversity in those provinces, in terms of government policy, they only need to focus on specific parts of the industry, mainly the grains and oilseed sectors and cattle. Quebec and BC have fairly diverse sectors as well, but they're not as large as Ontario's. Ontario is also in a different position from the other provinces because most of Canada's food processors are located here. Ontario agriculture supports more than just the farm families on our 57,000 farms. It supports thousands of jobs in this province's urban centres. The Agriculture Ministry's website will tell you that about 3,000 food and beverage processing companies, including international industry giants, employ approximately 114,000 people in Ontario. With further processing and associated activity, that number exceeds 600,000 jobs. And moving from the corporate sector to the consumer, we need to recognize that one of the recent green consumer trends is to eat local. Eating local reduces the energy and pollution associated with getting food to the table. It also gives us fresher food as well. With our agricultural diversity, Ontario farmers can go a long way to providing our consumers with a huge range of local products. We just need to ensure that those farmers can stay in business. Speaker, I hope this brief outline of Ontario agriculture serves to explain why we as legislators should take seriously the situation in which our agricultural sector finds itself. Because of both size and diversity, here in Ontario, we can see whether or not farm support programs are working effectively to help farmers in all sectors or in just a few. If those programs are not working effectively, agriculture is an important enough sector here for us to take action and to take action on our own if necessary. Speaker, today we know that those programs are not working effectively. Something is missing. We know because that is the word we're getting from our producers. Members of this House from rural areas know because they see it every time they go home to their ridings. The situation is so serious that our major farm organizations have united not just to tell us that a problem exists, but to work out a potential solution to the problem. Ontario, because of its food diversity, has a great many farm commodity organizations as well as general farm organizations. In normal times, it's not unusual for some commodities to be experiencing some difficulty for a variety of reasons. In such normal times, the commodity organization voices its concerns to the government and to any affected elected representatives, and a process of seeking a resolution begins. Usually it works fairly well, and other than maybe a question or two in this House, government staff work with the affected parties to achieve some sort of solution to the problem of the day. In this instance, however, something else has happened. The problem is severe enough that our two largest general farm organizations, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture and the Christian Farmers Federation of Ontario, have joined together with the major non-supply managed commodity groups to form the Ontario Agricultural Sustainability Coalition. This group includes the Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association, the Ontario Cattlemen's Association, Ontario Grains and Oilseeds, Ontario Pork, the Ontario Sheep Marketing Agency, and Ontario Veal. These are clearly not normal times. These organizations that make up the Ontario Agriculture Sustainability Coalition, as diverse as they are, have identified the gap that exists in existing farm programs, and have identified a way to deal with it. They have proposed a business risk management program that will provide a greater amount of predictability to farm incomes. The basic structure of the program is not new. Each party in this House has administered a similar program while in government. The basic structure, in essence, the business risk management program will cover the difference, if any, between the average market price and a floor price based on the cost of producing each commodity. Farmers will pay a premium covering 30% of the program cost in order to participate. Governments will pay the remaining 70% share. Farmers who do not sign up will not benefit. The farm groups that worked on this proposal have even identified how it will link with existing national farm programs. For this, there is precedent in Quebec's ASRA program. The work done by the Ontario Agriculture Sustainability Coalition has also led to a proposal which is less susceptible to trade, countervail, and anti-dumping actions. Currently, the National Agri-Stability Program is intended to protect farmers from serious income loss. It kicks in when a farm's income falls more than 15% below that farm's reference margin. The program's major shortcoming is the fact that during periods of prolonged difficulty, the reference margin itself sinks and it becomes more difficult to trigger assistance. Also, because of the calculations involved in determining these margins, there's no way of knowing in advance what sort of assistance a farmer will get, which in itself affects a farmer's ability to plan for the next year.